Hey everyone, welcome back to the latest episode in the Torana Resurrection build series. We're back down here at Ward Paint Fabrication. I've actually been shooting another video down here today with someone else. I might be able to share a little bit more on that in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, let's get stuck into an update on the Torana and talk about what's been happening here. Dale's not actually here today, but he's been kind enough to throw me the keys to the factory to allow me to come down here and shoot this update. You're going to hear from Dale later in the episode anyway, because he's been working hard on this, and hopefully we'll see him at the end and we can look at a few more things. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So today's episode is a big one. There is heaps I'm trying to jam pack into it. Lots has happened to the car. There's lots of things to talk about. So apologies in advance if it's a long one, but hopefully you get something out of it. Quick reminder, if you are into this sort of stuff, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you've liked this video. All the likes, subscribes, views and everything really keeps the build series flowing along and coming along nicely. Anyway, so what are we going to cover in this episode? First things first, Dale's been hustling really hard on the car and he's been getting heaps done over the last few weeks. So we'll take a deep dive into all that. Second, Diff. Diff is all ready to go and ready to roll under the car. So I'll take you over and we'll have a better look at the Diff and talk through all the brake package and everything that's on there now. Third, we're gonna get the front brakes dummy fitted up to the car, which will then lead us to the final thing that we'll be looking at is measuring up for the custom wheels. So the plan is by the end of this episode, Diff will be in, front brakes will be on, we'll be able to dummy fit up, work out our our wheel offsets with the tyres that we've got, and then we can get those wheels on order and keep this project rolling and hopefully still make our target of MotorEx next year. You might have also noticed I've got the custom 3D printed flares on the car at the moment as well. That also all ties into working out our wheel offsets and our tyre sizes and all that sort of stuff. Before we get stuck into everything today, Dale's been sending me videos and stuff as he's been working on the car. So what I'll do, I'll stitch them all together, which will get you up to speed where we're at today, and hopefully you'll learn a few things along the way, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about the other things.
All right, so bit of an update. Not much on progress on the damage side, simply for the fact I'm currently waiting on the diff. Once the diff is back, we'll get that back in, get the springs on, get the suspension, get all that sorted, only for the reason of alignment, make sure the doors are good, tailgate's good, everything's good, because when it's down on the ground and you're driving, you're on the suspension. There's no point having it on jack stands or on a trolley or anything like that, because once it's on its suspension, all your gaps are going to change. So should have the diff in the next few days. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tackle the right hand side. I'm going to show you how bad the right hand side is, not from the accident, but maybe 16-year-old Matt, maybe the previous owner as well. A lot of bog, a lot of rust, a lot of issues. So let's get on that. I've got my trusty ruler. I'll show you guys some dents and stuff. I'll show you all the new panels. All right, let's go. Okay, so this is the old lower quarter section. Got a replacement there. This is the old back panel. A lot of dents on that. Had some rust. And I thought, instead of repairing it, let's just put a freshie on. So I got that stuff cut out. Go over to the car. It's not too bad in the back. Have found a bit of rust here that I'm going to replace. So just the usual, just trim the basics off for now. I found quite a bit of rust right here, which I'll cut out. Let's show you the interesting parts. So I have no explanation for this. I've got no idea why, how, or what people were thinking. But I have a new section. We're going to replace pretty much the whole thing. And then I'm just going to weld it straight through there, and then I'm going to put my 1mm cutting wheel through there, so I don't use any seam seal or anything like that for it to crack or anything like that later on down the track. And then I can't even explain this because that was just all bog. But how much bog do you put in a panel? Seriously, I'm surprised it held in that long. So obviously we'll cut this section out, but what I'm gonna do is I'll cut all these sections out, as you can see down there, so I can get all my PDR tools in, hammers, dollies, flippers, all that stuff. I'll tackle it all up, and then I'll weld all my rust sections and stuff back in. So, dent wise, well, I don't know if you can see that too well. Maybe that one, or the fact it just likes to rock. My God. And then nothing G's you up more than cleaning all the urethane out, because it's never been welded. So all these holes are going, they're from the flares. Matt's got his new design, which will be cool. And then that's just, I hate that. So it'll get freshly trimmed. I played it all in nice so that it doesn't get, the tyres don't rub and cause issues there. That's fantastic. So I've decided to start on this. Once we got the other diff back, Matt's going to pick this old one up, but we'll get the diff in, get it on all 4 wheels. I'll get all this tapped up, get the door back on. Matt's got the door. He's bare metaling that. Once the door's back on, we'll get everything all finalised, gapped up, and then we're going to have a couple of big weeks welding and going back to making that intersection there. So that's really about it for now. I'll start tapping up these panels and might show the middle progress of how it's all going. I might do some old school stuff, and I might just draw on the panels, and then you work a section at a time. We're not metal finishing this quarter panel. For me to metal finish that quarter panel is going to be the best part of a week. We probably would have been better off to start with a brand new quarter panel, but new quarter panel, we can get one. It's about five grand. So by the time we put a quarter panel on it, we've got to take the old one off, and then we're probably going to more rust and more issues and all that. So I'll get this one about 80-90% to where I'm happy, and then I'll epoxy it, and that might be something else too. Have a look at this. So see this rust? That was where the filler was. So if you guys are doing stuff at home, bare metal it and epoxy it. So once the panels are all tapped up, I'll get everything fitting back onto the car. We'll get the rust done in, I know there's rust in the left-hand front guard, possibly in the right-hand front guard as well. I don't know how many dents or anything that's in the nose cone or bonnet. We'll know more once we bare metal it. Essentially, if the diff's in, the engine gearbox and all that's still in, so I don't know, might chuck a jerry can down the carby and Matt can drive it up and down the car park while it's all in bare metal, just for a bit of fun, and then we'll get it all stripped down, engine out, get it all sanded, get everything all in epoxy. The engine bay, I'm not sure how keen Matt is, but that needs to be bare metaled. So we might even send that off to get blasted. It just might be easier that way. So I reckon that will be in another video that you'll see the whole car all together and back on all 4 wheels. And and I might even add a couple of clips of this right quarter and all that done as well. So until the next video, guys, thanks for watching. All right, so this is just like Pandora's box. You just don't know what you're gonna get. So I've cut this piece, right? I'll show you something. Best way to fill a gap, put rod in it. And no idea what. Guessing that was a hole that they needed to fill. Anyway, then we go to the car. Well, that there is meant to be attached to the quarter panel, because that there, it goes from the quarter, that's the inner quarter, but it's attached, goes all the way up and joins under your roof. And then this little lip here, it's actually a drip rail. So you weld the quarter panel on, weld your drip rail on, and then you put the outer capping on, and then your roof. But my God, yuck. All right, another little update. So that's that section, showed you before, cut it out. More surprises. So this piece here, that actually connects to the tub under there, and it's fully gone. So that's actually one of the main structural points of the car as well. It's full cooked. So I'll cut this lip off, because that's actually meant to continue to the window lip. I don't know if you can see it. There's actually 3 lips. There's one at the back side. Trying to get a better view for you. There's one there. There's this orange lip, and then there's another lip. So I'll take all this off, take the secondary one off, and then I'll cut along here, join a section into this, and then weld it to that, and then make this piece. All right, just thought I'd show you guys as I'm going.
All right, so let's start with the diff. So this is the diff here. You might remember from a previous episode, I said that I was getting a diff from my friend Grant Pegler. So this is the diff. It's had a little bit of work done since I picked it up, but I'll give you a quick overview of the specs of the diff as I got it. So strange housing, strange yoke, true track, a 12 idler true track center, 31 spline billet foot axles. The housing is strengthened and it's welded inside and out. Basically, Grant had this diff built to handle about 800 horsepower. Originally, he had it built to go behind his 10-second 355 powered LX Torana hatch. He has since upgraded to a twin turbo LS. You might have seen it at Drag Challenge, or you might have also seen it in a recent issue of Street Machine. It's on their website at the moment, so I'll leave a link in the description and you can actually read up about Grant and his car. He's gone all out with his new combo. It does 9s currently, and I reckon it's got a lot more in it. So his new setup is full floater, 35 spline, the works. So this, he no longer needed this diff anymore, so I'd put my hand up for it, and yeah, so I've got it here. So when I got the diff from Grant, to go behind his twin turbo LS, he had a 3.25 ratio center, which wasn't ideal for me. So I wanted to change the ratio in this diff to something that would better suit the rest of my combo. So I've got TKX manual gearbox, 355 with 450 horsepower thereabouts. So my last diff was 3.55 ratio, which was pretty good, but it wasn't quite perfect. So I'd been and ahhing previously about going 3.7s or 3.9s. So what I've chosen with this is 3.9s or 3.89. I took this diff down to Diffco in Frankston and Reese and the boys changed the ratio in the center, and I also got them to do a complete once over on the whole diff. So we put new bearings in, we just made sure everything on it is right and working. I also thought that while they've got it, they're probably the best guys to help install the Brembo brake package that I've got. So I'll cut in a little bit tighter now and we'll talk about the brakes and what we've done there, because now I've got the whole backing plates and everything. We'll go into for a little bit closer detail and I'll run you through it. So as you might remember from a previous episode where I ran through all the specs and everything on what I was planning to do, here it all is. The calipers are off a VF Series 2 Redline Edition Commodore. The rotors are off a Gen 5 Camaro. I do think they're also on a VE HSV of some form, but I definitely know they're off the Gen 5 Camaro. So they're 365mm rotors. And then the backing plates, I'll get a close-up shot of these. These came from Big Brake Upgrade in the US. Scott there looked after me and basically built them custom to suit my setup. It includes all the mounting for the calipers, all the brake shoes and everything are all internally in here. And they're a really nice bit of gear. I was really impressed when they showed up. The calipers, just like the Commodore have to mount on the back because they're actually directional. I hadn't actually realized. So on the inside, there's the pistons on the inside. One side's slightly bigger than the other side, which basically helps load up the brakes as they're braking. So if I had them on the front, I think it makes it susceptible to brake squeal or something like that. Not entirely sure, but Scott told me that I had to mount them the same as they were on the factory car, which was on the back, which works fine for me. I didn't really care. What else? One thing, I think in a previous video, I might have mentioned that I thought that I had to redraw my stud pattern. I actually, for some reason, I thought that the stud pattern of this diff and axles and stuff was Ford stud pattern, but it's actually HQ Chev pattern already. Originally, I was planning to redraw the axles to be from Ford pattern to Commodore pattern to fit all these brakes up, but because I was HQ pattern and brake rotors are hub centric, which means they locate on the axle, and that's where they that's where all their strength and everything is for. They actually slid straight over the HQ stud pattern. So the holes on a brake rotor are actually a little bit oversized anyway, and they locate on the center hub. So it actually made my life a little bit easier for working out what I needed to do. So overall, that worked really well. So when I took the diff down to Reese and the boys at Diffco, they helped me mount up all the backing plates, get the rotors on. They machined up the center, the hub-centric ring that kind of locates everything to make sure everything's all bang on and perfect. Got the calipers mounted up in the right spot. They just had to do a little bit of shimming to make it align exactly right. Did that for both sides, and as you can see, it looks awesome. I haven't seen anyone running rear VF Commodore Brembo brakes like this on a Torana yet. I have seen the odd Torana with Brembos on the back, but I know they ran different ones. So I think I'll be the first person that's basically got a VF Commodore spec redline brake package on a Torana, which I think is pretty cool. And considering some of my history with Holden and stuff in the past, I really like it, and I can't wait to feel how the car handles on the road and how it pulls up. It's gonna, I think it's gonna throw me forward in the seat really well, which I'm really excited for. So circling back to the stud pattern, I'm gonna do similar on the front. So I might go through a little bit later when I dummy fit the front brakes up, but same thing. So now I've got I've got the conversion hubs with HQ stud pattern instead of Commodore stud pattern. So that way at least my stud pattern matches front to back. And the most important thing is what your wheels bolt to. That has to be the exact right stud pattern for the wheels that are going on. Otherwise you can snap wheel studs and stuff. But if it's just the brake rotors, as I mentioned before, the holes are a little bit elongated anyway, and it's all about the center bore locating perfectly, which is where all the strength is for the brakes. So that should do the trick. So yeah, HQ stud pattern all around now, which is the same as Chev. The bonus of keeping everything HQ pattern is that I can keep options for wheels and stuff open in the future. Anything that's Chev or HQ pattern should bolt straight up as long as it clears these big brakes on the front and rear. I should also mention I've got McDonald Brothers upper and lower control arms, the tubular ones, adjustable tubular control arms going on this diff once it goes back in the car, which is a lot stronger, one, and two, are we able to really locate the diff exactly where we need, get all the pinion angle and everything set up and bang on. As I said, I want this car to handle really, really well and be really predictable on the road. I want it to feel as safe as I can possibly get it, and I want to be super confident when I'm driving it up through the hills again. If it's a wet road, I don't want to feel like it's going to slide off the road. I want this car to feel so planted and so safe when I drive it around that it doesn't scare me anymore. Because to be perfectly honest, I still have a bit of PTSD driving on wet roads up in the hills. And I want to make sure that this car is absolutely perfect and I never have to go through any of this again. So getting it all right, setting it up with the right gear, getting Dale to dial in everything absolutely perfect, make sure everything's square, make sure everything is absolutely right from the start, then I'm 95% of the way there, making sure this car is going to be as safe as it possibly can be. Okay, so let's talk flares now. As you can see here, we've got the first 3D printed prototype flare on this car. So in the last video, I stepped you through the process of how I scan and design flares. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go back and check it out. I'll talk through my whole design process and how it all works. I've now created one for this car. So I came down here the other week, quickly scanned the rear quarter. I've also done the front guard that we'll have a look at in a second. And I basically designed it to now match this panel. So a few of you had actually mentioned it in the comments of my last video about why hadn't I tried lifting the height of the flare and where it sits on the panel. So I had tried that, and I guess I'd done it, and when I initially did it the first time, I didn't really like the look of it, and I basically instantly dismissed it. But after a few people raised it again, I thought, well, maybe I should roll back that idea and see if I can improve it and actually make it work. So I spent a fair bit of time back on the computer mucking around and seeing if I can lift the height of the flare on the panel here. So normally there's a body line that runs down the side of the car here, and the flare normally sits, I'm guessing here, about 40 mil down from that line. It just sits just above the. On a flareless car, there's a little indent on the guard, and it sits just above that. It's basically enough for the bolt to sit through above that. So I've lifted the flare up almost to this body line now, which gives me a lot more metal to cut out from underneath here, which then hopefully in turn allows a lot more tyre travel, but basically it means I can lower the car that little bit more. 20 mils a fair bit when you're talking about lowering that extra on your car to get the whole car down lower. So I've tried to design it so I think it's 4 or 5 inches of full suspension wheel travel is kind of like the goal to aim for. So I mucked around on the computer and tried seeing the wheel go up and down to have 4 or 5 inches, 110 mil of travel. Just to see where I needed it to go, where resting ride height and everything would be. I'm probably contradicting myself a little bit because in my last video I said I wanted to match the original wheel arch shape. The problem is when I lifted the flare up 20 mil, it would look odd if I then kept this down lower. It'd extend this edge down too much that then kind of distorts the look of the flare and it kind of loses its balance. So I ended up reshaping this inner opening. The more I looked at it on screen, the more I wanted to actually get a little bit of a nicer shape to better contour and match the wheel and tyre. The Singer DLS is a perfect example of what I think looks really good. I've mentioned it before in a previous video that I really looked at that car as a lot of inspiration because they've just built that absolutely beautifully. That car looks phenomenal on all angles. And they don't have a perfect wheel arch, a perfect round wheel arch shape over the wheel. They've still got the Porsche shape is still in there, but they've reworked it so it sits nice. And that's exactly what I've tried to do. So a nice consistent shape around the wheel and tyre. So when the car's driving, hopefully it just looks really nice and well balanced overall. With my lip shape here, it's actually, although I haven't really gone wider on the flare, having this depth here has changed that angle. So it comes out a little bit further on the top here. And because this drops straight down as opposed to coming to a point, I just get that tiny bit more clearance here. So then I can fit the tyre as snug as I can to the outside. So I get that good like stance look, I guess you call it. And overall, it looks like I'm putting the absolute perfect size wheel and tyre combo on to match the flares. So that's why I've rolled the tyre underneath, just to see how it looks and kind of visualize how it looks from all angles. And I'll do a walk around of the car and show some video just from multiple angles so you can really appreciate how well the flare sits on the car now. In the last video I spoke about, I was really like pushing to try and make the car look as low as possible, and almost going for that tucked rim look. I've kind of gone a little bit away from that and more about lowering the whole car and like really lowering the whole center of gravity of the car and getting the car riding as low as I possibly can for optimal performance, balance, and overall, drivability of the car. This tyre isn't quite sitting where this is probably almost its hanging height, because I've still got the guard under here, so I can't pop the tyre up where it needs to go. I'll show you on the other side, and you can see how it tucks in, and it's probably closer to ride height on the other side. So on this side, so this is the other side. Dale's, as you saw in the video just before, Dale's been working really hard to get this straight. It was all warped and dinted from the accident and just previous life. I haven't 3D scanned this side of the car. All I did was mirror the new old stock from the other side and printed it, but because Dale's still working on it, it doesn't fit absolutely perfectly as it does on the other side. So I've just got some tape here to hold it up for the time being. But on this side, because I'd hacked the wheel arch out before for tyre clearance, I can get the tyre up a little bit higher. So Dale still wants to cut out a little bit more. So that's why I actually wanted the flare here, because he wants to work out where this flare is going to sit, to then where he can cut the inner panel to give me the absolute maximum clearance. But this is probably where this tyre's sitting is probably pretty close to where I want ride height to be. I don't know if it will be there or not. But it's actually tucking a fair bit of tyre, and I've still got there's a bit of meat to take out from inside the flare still, which should give me a little bit more travel up. So, as I said before, this is the second prototype of the flare, which this edge is a little bit sharper, which I'm much happier with. But overall, I'm absolutely loving how good the flares are looking. As you would have seen, we'll do some walkarounds and show how good it looks. But man, I get excited when I see this, and I'm just imagining my wheels in here, the brakes we just showed before. Man, it's going to be good. I cannot wait to get these wheels in order, get them on there, get this panel fixed. Like, it's all starting to come together now. The panel work that Dale's been doing on this side, it blows my mind how he does it. Just hammering it out and just working the metal back into where it needs to be, and how quickly he's got it done in a couple of days. This went from being this panel, all the rust in here was absolutely cooked, and I came down and he goes, "Oh, I've pretty much finished that now." Because he's not here, I can really pump his tires up, but he's exceptional in what he does. What he can do with metal, there's not many people in Australia, let alone the world, that have the skill and finesse that he has. He tells me, "Oh, I haven't got it that perfect. There's still heaps of work in it." But I look at this and just think, "Holy crap!" Like, if I could get it half as good as what he's got it here, I would have been impressed with myself. And he said, it's not even close to being perfect. So it's so good to have someone like Dale working on my car that has so much pride in his own work. I just know that I won't be disappointed with the final product. He's an absolute gun, and if you're looking for someone to do your project and you're in Melbourne, or even if you're not in Melbourne, reach out to Dale, have a chat with him, and see if he can help with your project, because he's dead set one of the best guys in the industry, and you won't be disappointed with the quality of work that he does. All right, so I've also 3D printed my front flares, which I hadn't covered the design process of this one in my last video, but I have designed this one up now as well. I followed the same process. So I used the original flare as like a starting point to see where all the shapes and everything worked. And then I carried the kind of design language that I'd created on the rear flares and brought it across onto the front flares. So basically it's just the partner or the twin to the rear flare that matches the front with the same concept of how it all works and the shapes and everything. Front spoiler, I haven't designed yet. I've just kind of started and done the the edge of it just to help visualize it, and also to work out when I do the brakes and we put up the tyre on there to see where lock to lock and stuff is to measure up the wheels. I can kind of just see what sort of my clearances and everything look like down there. Same kind of philosophy as I did on the rear just before. I've kind of reshaped this gap a little bit as well. So it's no longer exactly following the original Torana wheel shape. It's very, very close. To be honest, it's still probably closer than most Toranas out there that are all warped and not looking right. So that's how close it is. I've just ever so slightly tweaked it to just get a better balance of shape around the wheel and tyre. So again, I'm super happy. I'm stoked with how good it looks, particularly when you stand back and look at the car and because the wheel and this is sitting at ride height on the front. The offset and everything on this front wheel is actually probably pretty close to what I need to go. But we'll see how it all goes when I bolt on the Brembo stuff and see if offsets and everything change. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited to get to that next stage and get those bloody wheels on order. I can't wait. So next stage after this, when Dale gets back, we're gonna roll the diff back in under the car with some wheels on it. Then hopefully we can get the car down back on the ground and rolling, which means I can jack up the front here and I can dummy fit the front brakes up. I'm not sure how I'll do that yet. It might be a time lapse. I might talk you through what I'm doing, but you'll know because it'll happen in the next couple of minutes in the video. But right now, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So get that on. As soon as the brakes are on, we can measure up for wheels. I'll show you how we do all that. Again, hopefully Dale knows because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. I'm pretty sure you bolt it on and gives you all the answers. So let's get stuck into the next stage. So I thought of one more thing about the flares that I thought I might quickly point out. So by lifting this height here, there's the side body line of the Torana runs all the way down through here. So if you look at a standard Torana, as I mentioned before, the rear flare sits lower than this body line by, I'm guesstimating around 40 mil. Don't quote me on that, but that's roughly what it goes by. But then on the front, the flare sits about 15, 20 mil below that body line. So what I've done by raising this rear flare up a bit is I've basically married up the height. So now hopefully when you look at the car from side on and this body horizon line, and when it's under really nice lighting, it reflects the light completely differently. Now I've pointed it out, people are going to look at it and go, why does the flare sit lower? So by me raising this rear flare height, it's actually going to now marry up and run all the way through down the side of the car. And it's those little differences like that I hope when the car's finished, people go, I'm not sure why, but this Torana looks really well balanced and really well thought out. Something about it looks differently. And it's all those tiny little differences that I hope makes a big difference in the end. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. And now the next time you guys are going looking at Toranas, you're probably gonna spot that and it'll drive you nuts. One more thing about the flares that I think people might be wanting to ask the question about. What material have I printed these in? So I've been trialing a few things lately. So this rear one I did in PETG, which I think the problem with PETG is it's very good. It's UV stable and all that sort of stuff, which is probably right for this job. Its melting point or heat resistance levels probably aren't good enough. Off the top of my head, I think they're about 60 or 70 degrees Celsius, where it might start to melt and deform and warp a little bit. So what I've gone with is ASA. So that's what these front ones and the other rear one is. It's kind of like ABS, which is what most like car bumpers and stuff are made out of. ASA is very similar. It's got a higher melting point or whatever it is. So hopefully it doesn't deform under the sun. We still got to trial a few things. We've got to join the gaps up. There's lots of trial and error to get these things right. So when we do work it all out, we'll share it with you. This sort of stuff is kind of a first for me. I've always kind of worked in the digital world, and these are my first kind of foray into bringing a 3D design part into reality and bringing it to life. So I'm learning along the way. I'm happy to share my learnings with everyone out there. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want us to follow this sort of content. If you've got any questions around the 3D printing side of things as well that I haven't answered, drop them in the comments. I'll read them, I'll get back to you, I'll shoot them in the next video, and yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll get this diff in and we'll get the front brakes on and we'll get the wheels measured up. So see you soon. All right, so we're gonna head back down to the factory in a second, but instead of filming every single little step, we decided to just crack on and get the work done. I've got a bit of time lapse and a bit of B-roll to show you, and I'll try and talk through so we can explain where everything's at. So Dale already had the new adjustable control arms set to factory length and bolted in, ready for the diff. From there, we slid the diff under the car, jacked it into position, and hooked everything up. At this stage, it's all just dummy fitted, purely for measurements and to check that everything's square. We dropped the old springs and shocks back in, just to hold everything in place. The plan is to order proper Shockworks gear soon, and I'll get some new springs for the job as well. But for the moment, these old springs will do the trick. Similar story with the brakes. We had to take them off because my old wheels won't clear them, and we want to be able to roll the car around on the old wheels around the workshop for now. But we did bolt the brakes back on loosely, just so we can work out all the measurements that we needed for the wheels. As you can see, they look sensational. And there's a heap of clearance on the back and around the shock and all that sort of stuff. So everything still needs to be dialed in properly. The diff has to come forward a touch, the bolts all need tightening, and eventually it'll have to come back out anyway again for paint. But for now, it's exactly what we need. I've also still got to get some oil in the diff, which actually brings me to some pretty exciting news. We've officially got our first partner on board for the build. We're teaming up with Diamond Oils Group, a proud Australian specialist oil company right here in Melbourne. They've created some specialty blends of oil that are created just for my car, starting with this diff oil. They've created this custom blend of diff oil specifically for my combo. It's seriously good gear. Hot blended, premium USA additives, and no recycled stuff at all mixed in. It's been tested hard in motorsport and proven to take the punishment. It's pretty much the best oil you can get. I'm also going to be running their specialist engine and gearbox oils in the car, so a massive thanks to Diamond Oils for supporting the project, and a special shout out to Brian and Steve. You'll be hearing more about them in the future, and I'm sure in some future episodes as well. If you want to check them out, or even grab some of this oil for your car, I've left their contact details in the description. Feel free to reach out to Steve if you want to have a chat about the best oil for your ride. The next job was to start measuring for the wheels. With the brakes bolted back on and the wheel measuring tool mounted with the 315 tyre, we fitted things up. It's a bit fiddly to set up, but once it's in place, it makes it so much easier to visualize exactly where the wheel will sit and make sure everything clears. We ran through the rear setup and got all the measurements that we needed. We then repeated the process on the front. We bolted up the new hubs and rotors and then mounted the 225 tyre on the wheel tool and worked out all those measurements. You might notice a few yellow marks on the flare. I'm going to be tweaking the design ever so slightly for better clearance at full lock. This is the beauty of doing it the way we are. It's really straightforward to adjust things on the fly and make everything just fit as it should. So we've finally got all the numbers we need and the custom wheels are officially on order. Hopefully in the next episode, we'll be able to show you what they look like and how they get made. I seriously can't wait for that. But that's it for today. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Before I close, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge someone really important. During the filming of this episode, Dale's dad, David Ward, sadly passed away. Dave was a huge part of the Ward family, and of course to Dale, who followed in his dad's footsteps into panel beating and running his own shop. Our thoughts are with Dale, his whole family, and everyone who knew David. It's a reminder to us all, go all in, live your dream, and do something incredible. Life can be short and you never know what tomorrow may bring.